2015 was quite the year for video games. We got cool games and weird games, fun games and duck games and strange games, really strange games, but most of all, we got a lot of games. Like every year, I think gaming only gets better and better the more titles that we get, and the farther people push what games can be and do. Last year was another one for great games, and for fans of most genres, there have been some pretty great titles. Sadly though, I wasn't able to play a lot of games that came out this year, and as such, I would be wrong to create a top 10 list or a definitive best of for every genre or category. With that being said though, I think it'd be nice to take the time to look back at some of the stuff that I enjoyed, was disappointed by, and thought was just cool in 2015. Shooters are fucking cool. I don't really get to play a whole lot of them anymore, mostly because the ones that are put out are multiplayer focused and very few of my friends play them. So when I finally got my hands on Machine Games' Wolfenstein The Old Blood, a follow-up to last year's Wolfenstein The New Order, I was super excited. The New Order was everything I wanted in a linear shooter, a focused single-player, strong gunplay, variety in gameplay styles, and really well-designed areas that encourage exploration. All that I needed was for the Old Blood to do the same thing, but, you know, add some new environments and weapons, and man did it deliver. The Old Blood took everything I loved about its predecessor and used it to create a tighter, more focused package. The gunplay is just as fun, the plot is just as grounded and simultaneously over the top, and the characters are all just as hokey and reminiscent of 1980s action heroes and villains that it creates for a monumentally fun and bombastic action shooter that left me hungry for more. Seriously, my only gripe with the thing was that there just wasn't enough of it. Being that it's a prequel and more of an expand-alone than a new title, it was limited in what it could do, but it was still absolutely one of my favorite games of the year. Oh yeah, and it actually made me not hate Nazi zombies. Every year I play a game that I think is going to be boring as all hell, but I play it just to see if I'm wrong in my assumption. Normally I'm right, but this time I tried out Grow Home and I was pleasantly surprised. I went into it expecting a sort of mediocre game with some wonky controls and not really much to it, but what I got was this really interesting little indie experiment that was surprisingly relaxing to play. The music and lack of any in-your-face UI, coupled with the simple control scheme that grew on me the more I played, helped me stay hooked to the idea and immersed in the experience. And it's not even that interesting of an idea. You help a plant grow to a certain height so you can extract its seeds by pushing some of the plant's branches outwards towards different floating islands. There's not really much else to it apart from collecting some power crystals, but just exploring this massive, narrow world was something that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. The sheer scale of every element does a fantastic job of making you feel small, and during my 4-hour playthrough of it, I was captivated the whole way through. I didn't really want to put it down at any point, and that's great because I went into it expecting to quit after 20 minutes. It was nice. Now this shit... Unlike Grow Home, that I went into expecting nothing from, Mad Max was a game that I was so incredibly excited for that I didn't really know what to expect. All I knew was that I wanted it to be the action-packed blowout of the decade. This came out in the same year that George Miller brought back the film franchise and created one of the most heart-pounding Western action movies of recent memory. I wanted this to be the action game, to stand above all other action games, but what we got was... this. It's a pretty looking game, with some of the laziest and most generic open world design philosophies out there. Every character existed for the sole purpose of giving you tasks to complete. Every camp and scenario was the same repetitive, rinse-repeat bit of gameplay, and the vehicle combat, while fun to look at, was severely lacking in imagination. I mean, seriously, looking at the sheer amount of crazy vehicle designs in Fury Road, and even the earlier films, makes this game look so painfully bland. There's no tankers, no gyrocopters, none of the melded monstrosities that Fury Road put on display. None. It's just a bunch of generic cars, save for a few, with generic enemies who don't even really use any vehicle-mounted weapons. I know that a lot of people found joy in Mad Max, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that I put 60 hours into it, but it never really got better. And every hour of it continued to be entirely mindless and overtly mediocre. I know there are some pretty devout fans of the title, but despite the repeated praises, it continues to be the first game that I've ever been almost entirely disappointed by. The last quarter was kinda cool. Like a metaphorical phoenix rising from the ashes, Jeff Keighley's arisen from his days as the Dorito Pope to do some legitimately stand-up stuff. He's done the Game Awards out of pocket for 2 years running. He hosted YouTube's coverage of E3 2015, and he absolutely shut down Konami live for the whole internet to see.
But unfortunately, he was informed by a lawyer representing Konami just recently that he would not be allowed to travel to tonight's awards ceremony to accept any awards.
After this year of #FuckKonami and the ensuing controversy regarding Kojima and his corporate overlords, it was a treat to see an event like this being used as a platform to push that to people that maybe weren't all that aware of what was going on. It's gotta take a lot of balls to say something like that, even though Konami's kind of an easy target right now. Let me get this straight before I proceed, because I can imagine I've already made a few people mad just with the footage I have on screen. Look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with creating fan art. In fact, I think it's great. A little weird, but great. There's nothing wrong with people being vocal about the things they love, and I in no way think people loving the thing they love is something that should be shunned. What I can't get behind, what I can't support, is spoiling the game and making it out to be something more than what it is. Some people have gone out of their way to make Undertale seem as if it was some groundbreaking masterpiece that transcends time and space, and made them reconsider the very definition of video game. While I won't speak directly on my opinion regarding it, I will say this. The game itself relies heavily on your lack of knowledge. The less you know, the better, and that includes whether or not it was good, bad, mediocre, or whatever. A lot of the immediate fans of the game seem to have been people that went into it not really knowing what to expect, and left with something that they really enjoyed. While I think it's awesome to share those sorts of positive opinions on Twitter, there's a fine line between being positive and overhyping something. It doesn't help that any dissenting critiques regarding the game seem to be met with immediate beratement regardless of the level of validity. The sheer amount of people that spoiled the game in YouTube comments on videos that didn't even have anything to do with Undertale, that overhyped it on Twitter and turned it into a real dank meme on Tumblr, have all sort of soured my opinion of the hardcore Undertale fanbase. I don't hate everyone that's a fan of the title, I just can't stand the way that the more overzealous fans have been acting since the game reached the mainstream consciousness. I feel like The Witcher 3 has won a lot of awards and been at the top of a lot of lists, and it's definitely earned it. I really enjoyed the game, it's been a lot of fun, I'm still playing it, and it's without a doubt my favorite game of the year. With that in mind though, I'm inclined to not talk about it here, simply because there's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. If you want to know my opinion, read every other blog post you could find, and I'll probably agree with all of them. So I figure I'll talk about something that I really enjoyed that wasn't The Witcher 3. There were a lot of cool games this year, but one of the ones that I found myself enjoying the most, that I actually started off hating, was Dying Light. I almost feel like this game was designed for me to hate it. It's a first-person, open-world, zombie-filled action game with a crafting system and heavy weapon degradation. It's everything I hate, and yet I ended up really enjoying it. The parkour, while clunky at first, really grew on me, and I started finding myself being able to pull off some sick jumps. I found myself grappling from building to building and doing the same crap over and over, but never getting tired of it because of just how fun getting there could be. The plot's a little goofy, and the ending is underwhelming as all hell, but I still found myself pouring a lot of hours into it and leaving every multi-hour session with a big dumb grin on my face. It wasn't as good as The Witcher 3 though. To end this whole thing off, I just want to say thanks to everyone who's been watching these videos, talking about stuff in the comments and leaving feedback. I feel like I haven't really gotten any rash negativity, and I really appreciate that from everyone. Even with the people who disagree, there's been a lot of valid points and apparent willingness to talk it out. With this being my first year trying to do the whole YouTube thing, this has been a really positive experience for me. It's been stressful at times and I've created some unrealistic deadlines for myself, but overall I think this has been a good thing for me. I really do hope that you've all been enjoying these videos, and I hope that you'll continue to enjoy them throughout 2016. I plan to do more stuff, have more fun, and generally create more things that'll hopefully pique everyone's interests. Because at the end of the day, that's what I really want to do with this channel. Make video games and the industry that surrounds them interesting.